Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest around Andre James not returning to the Las Vegas Raiders this upcoming season. On top of that, I am going to get into some potential candidates that the Raiders could look at in free agency and sign to be the left guard, because everything that I understand, it sounds like Dylan Parham is going to be switched over and play center. If you don't already know, today's show is presented by and sponsored by Panda Sups. And if you're looking to get into better shape, or if anybody out there's got a sweet tooth like me and the protein that you're drinking isn't quite sweet enough, I promise you this, the best protein you will ever have is at Panda Sups. Go to pandasups.com, use code Raiders for 20% off. So let's get in here to the latest around James. And I spoke to somebody very close to James at NFL Media Day, and I know it was 2 weeks ago when I tweeted this out, and I kind of wanted to revisit it because I never really had the chance with the Super Bowl, with me taking a quick little vacation. But James is going to be a free agent this offseason, and source told me that James is not going to be returning to the Raiders. Not because he doesn't want to, but because there are other NFL teams that will show a higher interest / will pay him a little bit more money / the Raiders want Dylan Parham to play at the center position. So as it stands right now, this is the Raiders' offensive line depth chart, and Andre James, Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor, anybody that you see that has that asterisk, they're going to be a free agent. Anybody with the caret is an exclusive rights free agent. So if you're the silver and black and you lose Andre James, you kick Dylan Parham in at center, that means you're looking for a left guard. That means you're looking for a right guard, right tackle in free agency. This entire show is going to be around replacing that left guard position if Parham decides to kick in and go play center. Replacing James is not going to be an easy thing, and I don't know why a lot of Raider fans are so critical sometimes of the offensive linemen that this team has. Like, Jermaine Illuminor is a lot better than what he gets credit for. Greg Van Roten was a lot better than what he gets credit for. Andre James was much better than what he gets credit for. And you're trying to replace a center that's been your starting guy the past 3 seasons. I get it. He's taken over for Rodney Hudson, arguably the best center in the last 20 years in the NFL. You can make a legitimate argument that, especially if you're a fan of PFF grades. But from a snap standpoint, I mean, James has played over 950 snaps 3 straight seasons for the Silver and Black, and he's gotten better and better and better every single year. And he's coming off a career season. Now, the Raiders no longer have Carmen Brasillo. He's with the New York Giants. And now you bring in a brand new offensive line coach in James Craig, which might change up a few different things here. But replacing James is not going to be easy. I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, Mitch, where do you think Andre is going to go? I was told, again, this is back at the NFL Media Day, so a few things have changed here. But I was told that the team that is the most likely to sign Andre James this offseason is the Miami Dolphins. The next team that was apparently showing some interest in him was the Chicago Bears. Another team that was showing interest in him was the Los Angeles Chargers. I was recently told in the last week that Tampa Bay could be another team to keep in mind. This is me doing my best possible of just trying to rank the top destinations. I will say, though, the team that was made very, very clear to me is the favorite for Andre is the Miami Dolphins. So speaking of Andre James and speaking of Dylan Parham, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. So I want you to scroll on down. And while that ad's playing, believe it or not, I want you to let that ad play. It helps me out a lot. If it's 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, let it play. It helps out the Raiders Report a lot. Who is better? Right now, who's better? I'm not talking about center. I'm talking in general. Who's the better player? Is it Andre James or is it Dylan Parham? My answer on this is right now, Andre James is the better player. And y'all know how high I was on Dylan, and even last offseason. You know, I got to give Andre James a lot of credit. You got to give him his flowers because I was sitting up here on this show saying Dylan's going to steal the center job away from Andre. Andre got better and better and better, put in the work, proved to be the best offensive center that they had. And if anything, Parham might have been the worst offensive lineman in general that the Raiders have. I do think that Parham can develop and be a solid center. I think he's got all of the right footwork. I think he's an extremely intelligent player. And when he played center at the Senior Bowl back when he was a rookie, and basically the reason why he was drafted here by the Raiders, is one of the reasons why I think Andre's better now, but I don't sleep on the idea of Parham being a solid, reliable center. And This year, 2 years down the road, he's good enough to freaking do it. So coming up next here on the show is going to be some left guard targets. And targets in free agency, because if Parham kicks over to center, we're going to be looking to replace that left guard spot. And yeah, I could look at all guards in general, but I really just wanted to focus on just the left guards and left guards only. So the positions that you're about to see here, they are going to be ranked, so just keep that in mind. Before I get into all of these, though, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, because at the end of the day, we're going to be doing a lot of free agency coverage. We're going to be doing a lot of draft coverage. Like, when NFL free agency starts, we're going to be live here, like multiple hours. When the draft starts, we'll probably be live those 3 days, close to, 24, 30 hours. So turn on those subscribe buttons, turn on your notifications, and then make sure you're always tuning in. Make sure you're part of the Noti gang as well. Believe it or not, it goes a very, very long way. So coming up here is going to be ranking which free agent left guards the Raiders are most likely to sign in free agency. This is not who I believe is the best. This is going to be based on coaching connections, fit in the offense with Luke Getsy, how much money it's going to cost, potential interest. All of that is going to go into these rankings here, and we're going to work ourselves from 8 and get ourselves all the way down to number 1. So coming in here at number 8 for who I'm going to be targeting in free agency at left guard, Ezra Cleveland. He originally got started with the Minnesota Vikings. Then he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's a big guy, 6'6", 311 pounds. And when you look at what he did, according to PFF, 749 snaps, an overall grade of 59.5, a pass blocking grade of 57.4, and then a run blocking grade of 60.4. The reason why he's going to be making this list is because he's had a lot of work at left guard over the past 3 seasons, close to 3,000 total snaps. He is a better run blocker than a pass blocker, and it's one of the things that I could see the Raiders emphasizing more of this year, where they're going to try to find tackles that are better in the pass blocking game. They're going to try to find guards that are better in the run blocking game. And the PFF projected contract for Cleveland is 3 years, $28.5 million. I really just want y'all to look at the money per year, because every NFL team is in a different boat in terms of what type of contract they're going to be offering. Like, I forecast the Raiders offering a lot of 2-year deals. That's one of the reasons why they offered Cliff Kingsbury a 2-year deal. So, I wanted to show you the full contract because that's what PFF projected. But the number that I really want you to concentrate on for every single one of these players is the money per year. Cleveland's good. 9.5, though, is a little bit rich for my blood. Let's go to number 7 here on my list. Jonah Jackson of the Detroit Lions. And Jackson is another pretty highly touted offensive line prospect. 6'4", 311 pounds, out of Ohio State. 798 total snaps played last season. A 59.7 overall PFF grade. He did do better in pass blocking, though, throughout his career. He's been predominantly a better run blocker for the Detroit Lions. 3,530 snaps played at left guard in his 4-year career. And Getsy and Champ Kelly have seen him plenty in Detroit. Like, I do think that sometimes that weighs into people's decision, where offensive linemen don't get a lot of attention, right? Like, they don't. You can say what you want, but they don't get a lot of attention. So if I'm a guy and I'm Champ Kelly and I watch the Detroit Lions 2 times a year, well, you get to see that guy a little bit more. If you're Luke Getsy and you get to see him 2 times a year, well, that goes into the consideration a little bit more of maybe you'd be willing to give him a little bit more money compared to a guy like Cleveland, and his projected contract comes in at $10.25 million. I think that both Cleveland and Jackson are good players, but he's got the advantage based off of the years of the other coaches seeing him play. Let's go to number 6 here on the list, and it's Dalton Risner, who he played for the Minnesota Vikings this past season. He originally, though, got his start with the Denver Broncos, and we know how much Tom Telesco likes guys from the AFC West. Also, Kansas State players are usually pretty solid guys in the NFL. They're intelligent players is what I'm going to go with here. 745 snaps last season, and if you were to ask Risner last offseason how he thought his free agency would go, I don't anticipate you would have thought, or he thought that it would have went the way that it did. I mean, he didn't get signed for a very, very long time. So I do actually anticipate that this year he might be willing a little bit more to take a deal that is a little bit less money, but has some more years to give himself that reassurance that he actually does have a job, because there was probably a point in last season he goes, Holy shit, I might not be on an NFL team this upcoming season. Over 4,500 snaps at left guard in his 5-year career, played in the AFC West from 2019 to 2022, and his projected contract comes in at $8 million. If I'm picking between the last 3 players that I just discussed, and I can get Risner at a cheaper value than Cleveland, at a cheaper value than Jonah Jackson, then that's the route that I think that the Raiders would go. This next name is one that I think Raider fans are not going to like, but you can't discount, you can't shy away from the connections that John Feliciano has. And last season, he played for the San Francisco 49ers. The reason why there's a connection there, the Raiders' current offensive line coach, Craig, coached with the 49ers the past 2 seasons. And Feliciano, yes, did not play as much as some of these other guys that I just mentioned. 478 snaps and played both left guard and right guard, can also play some center. He had a career year, though. I mean, 81.2 overall grade, a run blocking grade of 87.0. Like, Feliciano is a dude that I don't really like personally, and I know he has said some things about the Raiders. However, though, if you're looking for a tough, nasty dude that already has that connection with Craig, then this is somebody to definitely consider. Like, he can play multiple positions on your offensive line. Having versatility on your O-line is important. And Telesco is somebody that does value offensive line, usually in the draft. But if you value it in the draft, you're also going to value it in free agency on top of that. Great year with James Craig. And the PFF projected contract is at $2 million. Like, I would absolutely take a stab at Feliciano. I don't know if Feliciano would want to play for the Raiders considering some of the things that he said in the past. But he is on here at number 5. Before I get into my top 4 left guard targets for the silver and black, if they move on from Andre James, which sounds likely, and they end up kicking Dylan Parham in at center, today's show sponsor is Panda Supps. And if anybody wants to go get their hands on this awesome protein, go to pandasupps.com, use code Raiders for 20% off. As you can see, that link is available to all of y'all down in the comments. It's also available in the description. And the 2 new flavors that they have out right now, I encourage everybody to go out and try. This mint chocolate chip one will knock your socks off. Like, we were actually talking about it today with the Ninja Creamy, not a sponsor of the Ninja Creamy, but like, you put a scoop of this with some milk, and like, that's it, and you put that in Ninja Creamy, it's going to blow your freaking mind. And there's real chunks of mint chocolate chip in there. Like, their protein is so good, it's actually hard to believe that it's healthy. And I always ask Panda, I'm like, you're sure that there's 30 grams of protein? Yeah. You're sure there's only 1 gram of sugar? You're sure there's only 150 calories? Because it tastes too good to be true. And then this might be one of my new favorite ones. Like, there is actual pieces of, like, cinnamon toast, like, cereal inside of the protein. It's bananas good. Like, you were talking about your king cake, which maybe this defeats the purpose of Panda Supps, but taking your king cake, because Trace told me he made king cake ice cream in his creamy. You do that, but then you add a scoop of this. Bro, I'm telling you, game changer, and you're going to be getting gains. So if you want to go try some awesome protein, the protein I drink, code Raiders, 20% off at pandasupps.com. Let's go to the next name here on the list, and it's Kevin Dotson. He played for the Rams last season and actually played right guard for the Rams, and you got to go all the way back to 2021, which was his last season that he played left guard. The reason why Dotson's on this list, though, is because he's the best, and I mean the best offensive guard in free agency. And if you want to go out and pay him some money to play left guard, shit, go out and pay him some money to play some left guard. He had 881 snaps this past season for the Rams, an 85.2 overall grade, a run blocking grade of 88.8, a pass blocking grade of 68.3. Because I said he's the best, it's also going to come with the highest price tag out there. PFF has a projected contract for him at $17.25 million per year, which might scare me a little bit paying somebody that much if you do try to kick him over to left guard. I'll be real with you. If the Raiders signed Kevin Dotson, I'd rather they just let him stick at right guard. Like, if you're going to pay somebody $17 million coming off arguably the best year that he's ever had of his career, not even arguably, it's the best year of his career, you just leave him at right guard. But because he was the number 1 free agent guard, I had to put him on this list. Let's go to number 3 here. It's Jon Runyan. And at this point in the show is where connections start to cross. And like, nobody in their right mind is ever going to take Jon Runyan over Kevin Dotson if you're just talking about talent. But when it comes to moolah, some money, this is where I could see the Raiders maybe taking a little bit of a cheaper route. Like the next two candidates that you're going to see are if the Raiders decide to go a little bit of a cheaper route at that left guard spot. So he's not really all that old of a player. Hell of a mustache, if I'm being honest. 928 snaps last season for the Packers, 54.7 overall grade, 63.5 pass blocking grade, and then the 50.4 run blocking grade. So, Mitch, why would we end up wanting him? I will say this. His position versatility is important. He can play left guard. He can play right guard. 1,555 snaps at left guard in his 4-year career. He did play right guard this past season. However, though, when Luke Getsy was with the Green Bay Packers, he played left guard, and he arguably had his best season that he's ever had. So if I'm Getsy, and I know about Runyon, on top of that, Champ Kelly, the last time he was in the NFC North was when Runyon was at his best back in 2021. You see that and you note it. Plus, you're not getting somebody who's going to be super expensive like some of the first names I mentioned. It's also not going to be super cheap like somebody like, I don't know, John Feliciano. This is a good middle-of-the-road offensive lineman. If you wanted to give him $6-ish million per year, John Runyon is absolutely a name to keep in mind. Now, before we get into our top two, I got to give a shout-out to the Noti gang. I mentioned it earlier on this show. If you want to get a shout-out on future shows, hey, all you got to do, hit that subscribe button, and then there's a little bell underneath the video, whether on your phone, whether on your laptop, computer, wherever. You click that bell, click all. That way, every time I drop a video, you get notified. Be one of the very first people that comment on the show, and we'll give you a shout-out here. So shout out to Mad Vet. I don't know if L. Tiburon changed his name, but that's usually Jaime. John M. Rader, Matt R., and Sean. The only reason why I know is because he's always part of the Noti gang. So if you want to get a future shout-out here, join the Noti gang. Let's go to number 2, Cody Whitehair. And I'll be real with you. If the Raiders' plan at left guard is Cody Whitehair, I'm going to get some Whitehair. And I might even end up looking like Cody himself here, because the reason why he's number 2 on this list, and this one scares me a little bit, is because of the connections that Whitehair has. He's got a very good connection with Luke Getsy. They are extremely close. He's also very close to Champ Kelly, who used to be a part of that regime. Whitehair was recently released by the Chicago Bears on February 15th, and because of all of his ties, and if the Raiders do decide to go that cheaper route at left guard, like maybe they want to spend big on quarterback, maybe they want to spend big on defensive tackle, maybe they want to allocate their money in another way, and they just don't have enough money to pay a legitimate offensive lineman. Like, I would rather Whitehair be a backup offensive lineman on this team. Like, he's not Jordan Meredith bad, but he's kind of like, he's like Greg Van Rote and Thayer Munford. You know, like, if they're out there, I'm going to be a little bit nervous about it. Like, I am. I'm going to be a little bit nervous about it. He's never going to trot out there onto the field, and I'm going to go, this is awesome. Like, this is exactly what I want. Like, that's not necessarily. But if they do want to save money, I could see them trying to roll the dice with somebody like Cody Whitehair. But that means the number 1 most likely left guard candidate in free agency that the Raiders could sign if Dylan Parham gets kicked into center when Andre James leaves, Damien Lewis from the Seattle Seahawks. And some of you are probably like, how'd you get to this one? You'll see. 926 snaps this past season with the Seahawks, 59.6 overall grade, a 63.0 pass blocking grade, a 57.9 run blocking grade. You see the college? LSU, that's how I got to this one. 2,624 snaps at left guard in his 4-year career. He can play right guard, which actually, when he was drafted by Seattle, they had him as a right guard because he played right guard at LSU at a very high level with James Craig, the Raiders' current offensive line coach. I'll say this, though. If you've seen him be a successful left guard over the past 3 seasons and you have that connection at LSU, like, to me, that's where free agency, a lot of the times, you have those certain connections. You go, I played really well for that guy. I'm a young offensive lineman. I have a chance to make a lot of money on my next big-time contract. Where can I end up going? At $10.5 million, based on the connections, I believe Damien Lewis, if Dylan Parham gets kicked into center, is the most likely option for the Raiders at left guard. So we're going to run through these names one more time here. Here are the Raiders' free agency targets at left guard if Andre James leaves and if Dylan Parham gets kicked in to to center. These rankings, once again, are based on coaching connections, overall fit with the offense. They're based on front office connections. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you tune into all of our shows here. And if you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. So let's play a little bit of a game here. Hypothetical. If Andre James leaves and Parham goes to center, I want you to name a left guard that the Raiders should sign.